it does like 700 damage in one go. Moon's been smart about it though. 2 yawns. Moon's been smart about it though. He's been keeping the bears ready to rejuve. I mean, it's really the only thing he can do aside from have invul pots, which he really can't have forever. Because invul pots are sort of like, you use them and then after you use them, it's over. You get bolted again. So yeah, it's rough, but yeah, that's why Teach Thousand went MK, because he really knew almost 100% exactly what he's going to be doing. If you look, one thing about what Teach Thousand does a lot of the time is whenever he does some sort of push, he always brings towers, and I would say anytime you're going to fight Night Elf at all, ever, fight them with towers. Don't, even if you're like going, even if you're going to like finish the game, like going for a game finishing move, fight with towers. Bring like 8 militia and just make 8 fucking towers right at their expo. Like really, I mean there's no reason not to, like in reality, because essentially you're only benefiting yourself. I mean, you're gonna have the extra resources unless you have perfect macro and like 3 sanctums. You're gonna have enough resources to make like 8 towers. I mean, come on, you know, it's not that intense. If you look now, he's just gonna focus the hell out of the panda, and once MK's avatar, he's unkillable, at least for the time being. And now he just kills Panda. Panda's dead. Yeah, as you can see, it's Gosu sauce. Piercing damage versus unarmored, Dryads get owned. Dryads don't counter D-Hawks unless you have a panda, and even if you do have a panda, it's still hard because you can bolt it. So yeah, it's sort of an interesting game, I guess. Not too exciting. Now Moon just sort of forced to use his buildings to fight. And I don't know if he got Nature's Blessing. I think he did. They look kind of slow. Yeah, I think he got Nature's Blessing. Either way, they look kind of slow, and magic damage owning him. Yeah. Griffins rape uprooted Night Elf buildings. I don't know, there's a guy who was like, I think Goshock said it or something on the forum, he's like, we're Night Elf. When we uproot our buildings, it makes us so vulnerable when we're creeping. And I'm like, fuck you. My barracks doesn't uproot and attack creeps. God damn it. So true. True creeping. Yeah. Whatever. And then moves Expo, but this doesn't matter. Oops. And then Charm C isn't really that effective versus Mass D-Hawk, because like you charm a D-Hawk and it's just one more thing the D-Hawk snare doesn't matter. Yeah, D-Hawk focus kills Dryads, and Bolt kills DR. Pretty simple. You ever notice, like, when he says my town is under siege, he's like, my town is under siege. Like, he doesn't say under, he says like under. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Yep, next audio.
Hey, what's up, WCReplays.com? This is Orange doing Game 2 of the Dual Audio Commentary Series. Awesome. So, get the replay paused at the 45-second mark. So, this is the game on Trenistan. If you have the wrong replay, obviously you can be able to tell by the fact that it is a different map and perhaps different players. I don't know why, but my bio book smells like, well, it smells like cigarettes or weed. I'm not really sure which, because someone borrowed it, and then he handed it back to me, and now my hands kind of smell like crap. So it's going to take a bit for those to wash out, but whatever. So, obviously, screw it. That's enough time for you guys to get it paused. Yeah, I'm not going to leave any more time. So let's get this on pause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. That might have seemed a little rushed, but this is such a long game that I can kind of get through everything anyways. I will probably end up focusing more on the human player of this game, but I will comment on the various things that Moon does in terms of, I guess, base build and odd tricks here and there that are actually quite handy for leveling up your hero. One of them is fantastic, by the way. I'm surprised that not more people use it because it's a pretty simple thing to do. I will commentate on that later. So what Moon is doing is actually kind of it's an interesting way to build your base. And basically what he's doing is, my freaking nose, it's itchy. Anyways, what he's doing is he's basically building a couple moonwells kind of out near his Ancient of War where he's going to be creeping, because obviously it's kind of a risky camp to creep, especially with all the slow creeps that are there. With the Geomancers and the Mud Golems, you're going to get a lot of slow casted on you. So if you get creep jacked, it could be problems. So the one thing he has done is he's built a couple moonwells, and essentially this provides for harassment defense. So basically, like, if the human player comes in and decides, hey, I'm just going to try and snipe off some of your archers, you have a couple moonwells to back you up, and just stall the death of the archer, pretty much. So the human player is going to be militia creeping the Goblin Merchant, hurrah. There's various ways to creep this. The way I creep it is I actually use a militia. Well, I don't really militia creep much, but when I do, I just use a militia to draw them out to the side, and then I just kind of pick off the forest troll. And the forest trolls, my bad, there's two of them, plus the Shadow Priest. And I just use those, and I snipe those off pretty quickly early on, and then I just go for the Sasquatch, because he'll be running back and forth and stuff, because Sasquatches aren't that smart. I should know, I've met one. Anyways, yeah, that was lame. So both players are actually going to opt for an early expansion, and I'm not going to say fast expansion, because a fast expansion would be just heading out straight and expanding, which is generally what human players like to do. So, for Night Elf players, this is kind of a Night Elf map. Not a Night Elf map. It's not really a Night Elf map, but it's a really good Dark Ranger map, because if you look at all the creep camps, they're really small units, but there's a lot of them, so you'll end up getting really effective use of the Dark Arrow, because if you just use Dark Arrow for like a minute on one big creep, it really doesn't die that fast, and you don't get much out of it in terms of skeletons. I mean, you get the experience, but it's just not as good. So, what Moon has decided to do is he's picked up obviously a Shadow Priest. The reason that this is good is, well, not only is it godlike versus humans who go Archmage, just because you have the early game Abolish, which is vicious, by the way. You can actually abuse the Merc camp and decide to go with like 2 archers and just get the Forest Troll, Shadow Priest, and a Berserker, and you can pretty much keep a lot of pressure on the human player if they go Archmage. But just in general, it's a nice healing unit. It has fairly good damage, decent range. Not much in terms of HP, but that's not really the main purpose for it. But whatever. Also, good pickup, Forest Troll, Berserker, always a great unit. So, as you can see, obviously, massive amounts of skeletons on Moon's behalf. So, at this point, the human player is trying to set up his expo, and the one thing that he does do, which is smart, is he sets up his Arcane Vault first. He did sell off one of his items. Thought you should know. I didn't really pay attention to that because it's not really that important. But one thing it is important to do is to actually set up the Arcane Vault ASAP. Reason being, you're going to run out of mana pretty quickly, and with the Mountain King, you don't really have much in terms of tanking abilities, just besides your hero and your militia. So that's one thing to be careful of. Also, another thing you should be careful of is the fact that you can easily lose footmen and peasants to the Dark Ranger, so that's one thing you have to watch out for. If they start focus firing a unit, try and get it back as early as possible, because that dark arrow has like massive range and it barely ever misses. So, one thing that I will point out is that the human player, whose name I don't like to try and pronounce. Okay, it's kind of it's a secret passion of mine to try and pronounce it, but I'm not going to get into that. But what he did try and do was he tried to expo at kind of the natural orange camp as opposed to the natural green camp, which isn't really a natural camp per se, but it's still a lot easier to expo on those camps compared to the orange camp, just because of the difficulty of the creeping. But the one thing that he has done and learned from the first game is that trying to out-multitask Moon is a bad idea. So trying to play the running back and forth from Expo's game isn't really going to work. And as a Night Elf player, you can't really fast Expo on the orange camp unless you're going to be like really risky about it, and it's fairly easy to scout. because, like, as you can see, the human player already has, like, a couple scout farms there, so obviously he's going to be able to tell if they're pre-building